So I thought I need to do this. This is part of my life coaching video series, and it's just basically talking about why those who abuse and bully and carry out crimes against people to gain power, to not admit to what they are, and it's things like, they pretend to be sad over a child that's gone missing. Now, there's a little boy that's gone missing, sadly, and I go by how horrific it is, because that is, as a parent, that is your worst nightmare, with your child going missing. But when you know people who are also doing those crimes, who read it from the news and then pretend to be sympathetic, I find it kind of insulting, because it's like, yes, I hope this is ringing alarm bells to you that what you're doing is unacceptable. You're part of that. You are guilty of that. And anybody who adopts a child, think about how you'd feel if you really love something and love someone, how you would feel of it being taken away from you, by people that have no sense of people's worth. They don't value life as such. They think that life is about making people miserable, giving people a hard time. I don't care if they don't, people like that don't want to speak to me. I don't really want to give them the time of day, because, and I thought about last night, over the stories that I've read, and people messaging me and, reaching out to me, because obviously I've been a victim of bullying and abuse, in the sense that, both go hand in hand. And, when I do these videos, I thought about last night, I'm still giving them that 5 minutes of fame. They're still being mentioned, and for me, I don't want to keep talking about them. I want to talk about the good people. So my outlook is that certain issues need to be addressed, but I don't want to keep giving them the limelight, because that's what they want. They want to, in some way, be they want the whole world to know what they are. But then when they are questioned about it, and us, and being found out, they hide away. They change what they do every day. And it's examples like, when they once used to, not do things in the school that's not their job, but then suddenly they're doing it. You know what I mean? It's that little things that trigger it for me, and it's mannerisms, characteristics, pattern. And people who abuse and bully, they follow a certain pattern. And what I imagine is into my life coaching series and online courses, is because it is part of why we suffer with mental health, is because in some way they're still trying to find a way to get at you, and you're still having to think about them. And for me, people who do that, I don't want to give them the time of day. I don't see why I should waste my energy on people that have no worth of other people's lives, and pretend to be sad about, kids being abducted that they don't know, and it hasn't been them. It's kind of like, yeah, but you're responsible for that. You are part of the gang, as I call it, who partake in that. So how can you feel sorry for that child going missing when you're doing it as well? Now I am sad by it, because it's like, wow, why did that young kid have his life taken away for? You know, what did he really do? I mean, I know kids can be little rascals at times, you know, but they still shouldn't. It's still not an excuse why a child should be having a life taken. Now, there was a rare case back in I think it was the 90s, where 2 young boys abducted a very young kid, and they killed him. And the parents were asked about it, and they said it was because they exposed them to computer games, and they kind of thought it was real. Now that is a possibility. That is a possibility, because I've come from a housing estate where there was other estates around the one I lived who were a lot worse than Peabody. You know, they were ones where there was like abuse and violence in every flat almost. You know, but they can't. You know, what we don't want is them to be homeless, because then, you know, it's because then we're adding to that, aren't we? So, but there is patterns that they follow, you know. So, for example, their behaviour is unpredictable. In fact, they'll pretend to be nice one minute and nasty the next. Now, if I like somebody and I know they're genuine, I will, I won't. I always give people a chance, I do, because it's not that in some way I'm sort of thinking, are they worthy to be my friend or anything like that. It's not like that at all. It is, when you've been in an area where there's a lot of unsavoury characters as well as good people, you do tend to hold your guard up, but you kind of you kind of have a good way of measuring people. And so, for example, will pretend to be in a place and not be. They will make out that they're indoors when they're not, you know. And you would be surprised at what the extent they go to. Like, they will use like recording devices in rooms to make out they're there and they're not, or they make out they're not in but they are in, you know. They will be threatening people in the middle of the night, just random people, you know. And it's psychotic behaviour, and psychotic behaviour is not the same as mental health. Psychotic behaviour is where you just want to hurt people, you just want to lash out at everybody, because they are very much control freaks. They are very much compulsive liars, you know, and they have no idea about mental health. I do. You know, last year I was another image of myself. I was suicidal. I didn't know what each day would bring. I always get upset over it. This is when you know genuinely that someone has been had mental health issues, because of certain people being very toxic and very trust me, these are not crocodile tears. People that hurt, you know, people just for their own games and their own point scoring is just what it is. It's malicious, it's vile, and they know they're doing it, and I hate using them words because people who do it, they get off on those words, you know, and they just want to see how far they can go, you know. But the one thing that the police are doing now is they're cracking down on it by watching homes now, and schools and stuff, to crack down on it, because of abuse of money, and it can carry on until you're an adult. And I know they're probably laughing because I'm crying, but I don't care, because I know who the stronger one is. I'm not the one that hides away with the curtains drawn down. I'm just working. People who do it aren't. They just want to shout and holler, and then when you confront them, they just turn their back and pretend they didn't do anything, you know. I've always faced up to things I've done, you know. I've always I hate people who get off on game playing, and then you find that you end up playing in their games as well, and it's like, I'm not doing it for that purpose. I'm doing it just so they get. Because the one thing that I would say that I've always done to those that have bullied and abused is that I'm not scared to show my emotions when they know what they're doing is wrong, but they put the blame on you all the time, when all you're trying to do is have a better life for yourself, and they use your mental health against you, to patronise, to think that you're not fit to be, you know, a parent sometimes, and that's not the case. People with mental health are the strongest people in the world, because they know how to deal with their emotions, because they're not afraid to admit how they're feeling. People that don't admit to how they're feeling are often the ones that carry out abuse and bullying, because they have no sense of people's true feelings. They pretend they do, but they don't. And this is proof of someone that has had mental health issues, and I had a lot of people against me at one point, but I fought on, and I'm never going to stop fighting against and help other people that have gone through it as well, because who has the right to demolish somebody when they can't face up to their own for their own self-worth? You know, they do it because it in some way makes them feel better. They treat it as if like it's a sport, and it's not. You know, people's feelings aren't there just for the sake of it. They're there for a reason, you know. And I've seen a lot, and I've one thing it has done is made me see things a lot differently now. You know, I used to be quite an intense parent, but now I'm not. I'm quite. Now I want Henry to be a kid, because that's what currently he is a kid, and I want him to enjoy being a kid. And because before you know it, you do end up where Mother Nature catches up on you, and it's like, bloody hell, give me a bit more time, please. You know, I still want to be a kid for a bit longer. And you know, when it hits home that some part of your childhood has been taken away from you, it can feel like, bloody hell, you know what I mean? Give me a bit longer, you know. But I just feel sorry for those who, like myself, because you can tell someone who's real when it comes to mental health and who's really been bullied because of the way they react, like I just did. Because it does it. Last year, I was very, very on the cuff of ending my life. I had no energy because I was diagnosed as having psychosis when in fact all I was doing was trying to help someone. But I kind of felt like, well, I suppose I better, admit defeat and go with it, But we all knew what the truth was, And you find who your real friends and family are when you hit rock bottom, because you'll have people who pretend to be sympathetic and then use it against you in every which way you can. And just because you've got mental health issues doesn't mean you can't be a good ambassador for other people. It means because you've been there. And sometimes the aftermath of bullying and abuse can be a lot worse than the actual abuse itself and bullying. But you find a way of getting out of it, and I do cry because you know it's real. But people that do crocodile tears, because they will cry and then at the moment they'll lash out again. That's how you can tell, and their pattern. One minute they have like lights on the timer, and then suddenly there's no bulbs in the lamps, and they pull the blinds up anymore. You think, why are you not pulling the blinds up anymore? Don't you want daylight to come in? And it's like, it's unusual behaviour. People with mental health, it's not unusual behaviour. It's because we feel like we have nothing left. When you have mental health issues, we feel like no one is on our side. Like in my last video, I said we can often feel very lonely, in it, because we don't know, because you do end up like talking to the wrong person a lot of the time. And I do think that, and I did an ebook today about work-based, I talk about stress and anxiety. And, I do think that in many workplaces they should have psychologists and counsellors for those that, especially those who have been bullied and abused, because it can carry on to adulthood. And they continue to go through doing the crimes, try each way and every way to turn it on you, when all you're doing is trying to get on with life and get away from it. I made a promise to myself that after primary school, and I went to secondary school, that I would never ever be bullied or picked on again. And you know what? I wasn't. And if I felt like someone was starting on me, I would make my case known that I weren't going to take it, And it worked for me at secondary school. But then you find other people will try and do it, And you think it's going to go away when you get in adulthood, but it doesn't. You still find people trying to do it. And when I worked at holiday camp, most of it I loved it because I worked in the residential catering department. I also working in many of the other venues as well. But I then went over to the chefs society for a bit, and I was absolutely ridiculed every day by a couple of the managers. They really set upon me. And also I found some things were going missing in my chalet, in my room. And it's, you think, oh bloody hell, just leave me alone, But most of it was good fun. But yes, that was like very hard, when it happened. And in the end they took me to work in the chefs. I went back to being a KP, and working in the other venues as well. So but it does go on to adulthood, and you just got to shut it down, and fight as much as you can, but not lash out. They want you to smack them, not the time, and I'm not going to waste my strength on doing that, and neither should you if you've gone for that, because half the time I want that kind of reaction, and that's another thing they could put on you. And I'm not going to be, I don't think people should be put away because of the nastiness of what abusers and bullies do to people. They're just like, anteaters, really. They just want to You know, they just want to reprimand people because of their own disgusting behaviour. They're disrespectful of people, and that's what it is. So sorry about my tears, okay? But I hope you find these videos helpful to you. You can get out of it and just keep, honestly, I know it's draining when you have to keep fighting, but there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. Something I know that something brilliant on the cards for me this year. It's just because of lockdown, it's taking its time. Cheers, boys, you know. And please use a comb for your hair, because I can be a Prime Minister and walk around with your hair in a mess, you know. And I know people will say I'm probably abusing him, bullying him. I'm not. It's because that people are getting sick of this now. They want to socialise. They want to get out, have a pub lunch, have a drink. You know, you know, be able to have a meal somewhere again. So I hopefully it will shift soon. I feel like it is getting there, but it's like it's taking its time, you know. And I'm looking forward to, because I should be working at another holiday camp this year. The one I used to go to as a kid in Clacton. So that's on the cards, and as well as I'm working at some of the music festivals this year. So yeah, and I'm looking for me some TV shows that I'm going to be involved in as well. So I'm really looking forward to that, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.